Hello and welcome to this year's video. My name is Veva, and this video is made on suggestion from Andrew Howard on YouTube. And that was a little over 2 years ago at this point, so let's get to it. In this video we are drawing Lydia Deetz from Pinot Juice in the style of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. Now, since Lydia has many different incarnations, I'm mainly drawing influence from the 1988 movie and the 1989 cartoon of the same name. I haven't had the pleasure of seeing the musical, but it looks good, so maybe someday. I wish to preface this by saying that I am not a professional by any means, and this is purely from an observational standpoint. Before we begin, Scooby-Doo and the gang made their debut in Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? In 1969 up until 1978, with a total of 3 seasons, with 41 episodes. They were developed by Joe Rudy and Ken Spears, and produced by Hanna-Barbera. Though there have been many versions of the Meddling Kids, today we're taking a look at the 2010 Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated cartoon. This show was developed by Mitch Watson, Spike Bernard, and Tony Schiavone, with a total of 2 seasons, 52 episodes. It was nominated for Kids' Choice Awards in 2011 and 2012. This particular version took inspiration from many different works of horror media, like Twin Peaks and H.P. Lovecraft. In my humble opinion, I feel like this is one of the more creative iterations of the gang, and it's a shame it didn't go on longer than 2 seasons. So let's begin. As you all saw at the start of the video, I started out with a very simple sketchy pose. In terms of head shapes, I've noticed that a lot of young feminine characters of the same age have this jagged egg shape with variations of how pointy the chins are. In all honesty, this isn't really an issue. I can understand taking shortcuts where it makes sense, since the show did air every week with a new episode. This isn't something prevalent in older feminine characters though, where I guess as you grow a little bit older, your head just gets a little bit longer and just more mature looking. To keep body proportions, something you can do is pull up a character and try to size them up to your sketch. It also allows you to see if just anything seems a little off. You can also ask yourself, can I really see these two standing next to each other? I like using Daphne because she's just a good example of a proportioned body in the show. Back to head shapes, in terms of ears, there isn't any detail besides them being round. It felt undone to me, so I added lobes later. Eyes-wise, it's all just dots with upper lids. Feminine characters have a little more weight to the lid lines. They're thicker, and they're pointed to imitate lashes or eyeliner. Sometimes eyeshadow is even added. Now, since Lydia in the cartoon has eyeshadow, I followed suit when coloring came around. In some characters, there's also a lower lid to show how unhinged they are. In the case of the Hex Girls, though, it's for aesthetics reasons. The pupils can range in shape, but for younger feminine characters, they're generally big and a solid color with no line work to separate them from the rest of the eye. The eyes really come together in the coloring stage, though. There are actually a lot of variations for noses in this show. At a glance, I thought it was all the same with long bridges and a pointed nose top, so honestly, go ham with the nose shapes. They won't be out of place. But for Lydia, I gave her a simple pointed nose. Now lips. For a lot of characters, it's a simple line with a shorter line underneath it to symbolize a lower lip. Or for feminine characters, they wear lipstick, so both the lower and upper lips are outlined. During the coloring phase, they really come together though, just like the eyes. In the end, you can just add a little lift to the ends of their mouths to give them a little smirk, but other than that, it's not really that complicated. Now hands are kind of weird. They're weird in this show. They're like very basic, like they just drew the shapes of a hand, or you know, like what a hand's made up of, and called it a day. Doesn't mean it's bad though. In fact, looking at it from an angle, you can learn to draw hands from this show. Like, knowing you don't need the most detailed finger ever. But it still has to be recognizable as one, which I'm hoping I accomplished with Lydia's hands. Something to keep in mind is that the show really excels in simple character design that relies more on color, motifs, and overall clothing style and silhouette. The Hex Girls are a very good example of this. You have different variations in hairstyles and clothing too, but overall, their body shapes are very similar. It's the clothing and body expressions that really set them apart from one another, and overall personality too. Like, I'm getting all sorts of personality from this screenshot alone. So with that in mind, outfit-wise, I wanted to go with one of my personal favorites. Her school uniform from the cartoon is simple in shape and color palette. Lydia seems like a purple or red themed character in the cartoon, so since Daphne and Velma were already sporting similar colors to those, I went with the cooler ones instead of her classic ones. Something I really liked about this character design is that everyone has their own color scheme going on. This was honestly a good looking show. Aesthetics is something to keep in mind. The look of the show was trying to go for was definitely something inspired by the 60s and 70s. Like, you got Angel, who looks very much inspired by blaxploitation movies from the 70s. But, of course, don't be afraid to step out of the era. It doesn't seem out of the ordinary to blend different fashion eras in this show. It really gives it a, I think this would be made and aired now feel. It's very timeless in my opinion. Moving on to my favorite part of the art process, lines. The show actually doesn't have a lot of line variations. Like, if we had to put this on a scale, on the other side of the scale is a Butch Hartman cartoon. But the lines are not wasted. Each one matters, and it doesn't seem to be thrown in for the heck of it. Thinking about those hands again. But unlike modern shows, these lines are thin and have a jagged feel to them. They don't taper off, they end at the corners and turns. Clothes take shapes with wrinkles they're given, and the hairs are very shapely and have tons of dimension. Which is what I really wanted to do with Lydia's hair, mostly in her pineapple top. Her skirt and blazer, this has really helped with the shading, and that really gives everything the dimension it needs. Now, this is where I feel it really all comes together, in the coloring phase. Something I really liked about the show was the range of color coordination. It's really something to look at. Shading goes hard in this show, with the neon-like colors, and so many ranges for the nighttime shenanigans, the warm tones for during the day. It really feels like a horror movie from the 70s, with how vibrant and vivid it looks. People always go with how vibrant the 80s were, and while they were, I can't help but think about movies like Carrie, Suspiria, and the Chainsaw Massacre when it comes to color in horror movies. But I am just a simple hobbyist, and this is just what I see. So with that, I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions or suggestions on what the next video should be, just leave them in the comments below. All my links are also in the description, so if you want to see the final results of this video better, you can just find a link down there, probably to DeviantArt, what have you. I'll see you all next time, and thank you for watching. Bye.